As state championships are upcoming, we are checking in with hockey and basketball. We take a look ahead at spring sports, and we'll cover rugby, a sport with growing popularity. All that and much more. Keep watching. Your local sports news starts now. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, and here are your local headlines. In WIAA news, the Board of Control takes action on several fall sports coaches' recommendations recently. The fall sports including in the actions are football, soccer, cross country, tennis, and volleyball. The lone football recommendation to receive board approval establishes a tournament series for the 8-player football to replace the 8-team jamboree beginning in 2018. Now in soccer, the board approved a change to the boys and girls state tournament. That's the schedule that begins this season. The days and times of the semifinals and finals for the 4 divisions will now rotate on a 4-year schedule. Other state changes were made in cross country, including a 6-year divisional and gender rotation for the state meet race schedule. All other approved changes can be found by visiting wiaawi.org. In other WIAA actions includes final support for conference realignment plans. 2 of the 3 conference realignment plans have received final support, but the first involves Rock Valley and Trailways conferences. Those plans include 2 schools from Rock Valley to move to Trailways in 2016 for football. All other sports are going to move beginning fall of 2017. Now the second plan that is getting final approval moves Riverdale from Southwest Wisconsin Athletic League to the Ridge and Valley conferences for football beginning this fall. The board is scheduled to take final action on their 3rd realignment plan on April 19th. If you'd like additional information on these headlines, you can reference the media sources you see listed on your screen. Also, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching the Sports News, brought to you in part by the Red Zone Sports Bar in downtown Madison. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. When we come back, we are talking basketball, so stick around for more sports news. Welcome back to the Sports News. First, we are talking basketball. Joining us to do just that is Lake Mills High School. We're joined by Simon Lensmeyer and Colin Moen, and guys, we're so pleased to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So we got a lot to cover. Simon, I'm going to start with you. On Thursday, you guys clinched the first conference championship for Lake Mills in 30 years. What an incredible accomplishment. Tell us what that was like.
Well, it was unreal, honestly. Just for me, the rest of our team, it was a great experience. I don't think it's ever going to be matched unless maybe playoffs here, but I think everyone just experiencing it together made it just amazing for all of us. And I really had a great night. I don't know about the rest of my team, but we all had a great time.
I think probably all around it was a great night for you guys. And Colin, let's get to you for a second. As a senior, what did it mean to you to finish your career with a conference championship and to do it against one of your biggest rivals, so Lakeside Lutheran? Just an incredible game.
Yeah, me and the rest of the seniors, it meant a great deal to us to go out with a conference championship, obviously, and I think it made it that much more special that we were able to go out and beat our rival, Lakeside. Despite the skill levels of the team, it's always going to be a great game between us and Lakeside. So going out there and getting a win to get this conference championship, it was a big deal for us.
Absolutely. And Simon, Lake Mills is definitely a community that loves basketball. Talk to us a little bit about how important this championship is to all of your supporters out there in Lake Mills and beyond.
Well, it really just proved that this year is a big step up from program history in the past. I mean, coming into the year, we all had great expectations, but now that we actually came out and proved it, it means a lot to us and our city. Now it's on in playoffs and showing them that we can do more than just winning conference. We can make a big impact in the playoff run. Yeah,
you've got it, and you've got plenty to go. So we'll see how that pans out for you too and the whole team. We look forward to finding out more. And Colin, for you, you're both captains. How did you and Simon lead this team to accomplish the goal of winning conference championships? Talk to us a little bit about that leadership and what that looked like.
Yeah, I think Simon and I, along with the other captains, Alex and Brady, have really established being an unselfish team. We don't care who scores or we don't care who gets the recognition as long as we're winning, and that's kind of proved the course throughout the season. We're doing a great job, and if we continue to do what we're doing, being unselfish, just playing as a team, that'll help us keep winning, and that's what helped us get this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple seconds left, but real quick before we go, where do you guys go from here? You have 4 regular season games left, then the tournament. How far do you think you can go?
I think the possibilities are endless. As long as we keep doing what we're doing, playing as a team, we'd like to win out the rest of the games this season, but we'll go as far as we can, and if that means going to the tournament and going far, that's what we'll do.
Well, we wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. We'll have to check in a little bit later. Thanks so much to both you, Colin and Simon.
Thank you.
Staying in season, we turn our attention now to hockey. We're joined by James Browning and Nathan Varese, captains for the Stoughton High School hockey team. Guys, we appreciate you joining us today. How are you?
We're good.
Yeah, good to be here.
So let's kind of just check in as far as how the season's been going so far. Give us a little bit of a recap, if you would, just to start.
Our season, as any season goes, has been filled with lots of ups and downs. We faced a lot of adversity through illnesses and injuries. Our record right now is about even. That doesn't fully reflect how well our season has gone. We faced a lot of big teams and opponents and won some big games throughout our season, and we're just ready and poised to make a playoff run here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing how that goes. And like you said, you've had some big games so far this season, but you've also faced some adversity, to your point earlier. How do you think that this has affected your team, some of these illnesses and injuries and things?
Yeah, adversity has hurt us quite a bit, but each and every game is a different mindset, and we change and practice for each game, and we just play on and keep going.
Yeah, just got to push through it. And talk to us a little bit about your program and what do you think some of or one of your biggest strengths are?
We all feel that our biggest strength is our team chemistry. We rely on our team chemistry a lot when we face adversity. We rely on it to bounce back and take adversity head on, and our team chemistry has definitely been the best it's been in the 4 years that I've played here.
And a look ahead, what about goals for this season for you two?
Well, our goals for the rest of the season is to win a sectional final game, and then after that, go to the state tournament and hopefully do pretty well.
Yeah, and speaking of state, talking about that, it's just around the corner. What would going to state mean for you and to the team, as a whole, and the community? I know this is a big sports community, so talk to us about that.
For me, it'd mean a lot. I watched my brother play with the 2010 team, and it just helped me achieve a dream that I've had to also play in a game. For our team, it'd mean everything. The hard work and effort we put in throughout the season and rolling with the punches and facing adversity, it just mean a lot for us to take a trip to Madison at the end of the season. For the community, we've had tremendous success throughout our years, and it'd just be great to get back to that success and put Stoughton back on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we look forward to that. And real quick before we go, who's your favorite opponent?
Probably our rivals, Oregon, because they're a short 6 miles down the road, and both teams bring usually a pretty good crowd, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of energy there. Well, we wish you guys the best as you move into the playoff season. We'll have to check in with how things are going. That's your Vikings report, so thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
When we return, we're checking in with Evansville. The Blue Sox will be here. The sports news is next after the break. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, and we are taking a look ahead now as we turn our attention to baseball. Joining us from Evansville, the Blue Sox co-founder and coach Michael Maves joins us, and Grady and Brooklyn Maves are also here. Thanks so much for joining us, all three of you.
Thanks for having us on, Jessa.
So we're excited to talk Blue Sox here, and for folks who aren't familiar with the Evansville Blue Sox, just share a little bit about the program before we get started.
Well, we have 3 teams. These guys here are my youngest team, my 9U team. We also have an 11U and a 12U team. We started about 4 years ago, and it's a community-based team that focuses on playing tournaments, and it's a kind of set up for kids that can't really afford the big traveling program, so we try to keep the price down, and it's community-based. We got a couple of people from other communities that come in, but it's a good program.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you mentioned a couple different groups that you have. So talk to us a little bit about the age groups that we're covering.
Okay, we have like I said, we have a 12U group, which plays on typically 50-70 diamond, which is 70-foot bases, 50 feet pitching, and then we have a 11U group that plays on a little smaller diamond, along with the 9U group, and we're based right in Lake Leota. And 12U means that you have to be 12 and under, and then 11 is 11 and under, and 9 is 9 and under. So.
Okay, perfect. So the two that we've got here today, Grady and Brooklyn, this is part of the youngest group of players. And now, guys, what are your favorite positions, or what position do you play in these groups? Grady?
Second base.
You play second base. And what about you, Brooklyn?
Like catcher.
You play catcher. Great positions. And what a bunch of fun for all ages and for you both. What do you think is each of your favorite things about being on the team?
Grady, what do you think?
Because I like my friends are on it, and I get to play baseball and hang out with my friends.
Yeah, that's a perfect reason. How about you, Brooklyn?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Well, I think it's a great way for you guys to stay active and get out there and meet some people your age, and what a wonderful organization. Now, for baseball fans at home, back to you, Coach. What does your season officially start?
Actually, we start throwing in a gym. We have an open gym that we have, and we start throwing just the pitchers and catchers. And we also have an arcade in town that doubles as a batting cage. So we do a lot of soft toss and tee work with our young kids. And then we have an early tournament actually in Dyersville, Iowa, that the kids go and they get to see Field of Dreams. We watch the movie, and then we kind of have our tournament, go to the water park. It's kind of our kickoff to the season. So
Absolutely. Well, what a great program. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. We look forward to your upcoming season. We'll check back in with you as things are progressing. So thank you.
thanks, Jessa.
Our coverage turns now to soccer as we are joined by Christian Bray, manager for the Madison 56ers. How are you doing today, Christian?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
So pleased to see you. And let's start, if we can, by sharing with viewers just who the Madison 56ers are. Give us a little background.
All right, sounds good. So the club was established in 1956. So this year actually we celebrate 60 years, and we will try to organize something special during one of our games in the summer, probably the first one on June 15th. So it was established as a men's team, and then a youth program was added later on. And the current team is pretty much the work and dreams and vision of Charles Billings. He purchased the franchise in 2005 from the National Premier Soccer League, and worked on it for about 6 years. And now we actually play in the Premier League of America, and we are one of the founding members starting this year. Another person that I would like to mention is Irvin Jabs. Irvin used to play in the team back in the 50s and 60s and still helps me out with the team pretty much at every game day.
That's great. So an incredible group of folks, a lot of growth over the years. Talk to us about where you're playing your home games and where you train as well.
Yeah, so the home games, we play them at Breese Stevens Field, which is just about, it's on East Washington, just about 1 mile from the Capitol. And it's a Madison landmark, part of the National Register of Historic Places. It's really a gorgeous place to play soccer, one of the best places in the country, I would say. It has a covered stand, it has a stone wall, and I wouldn't like to play anywhere else.
Yeah.
Last year, the city installed artificial turf. Starting this year, there is a private management company that takes over the Breese Stevens and will add a few more improvements this year and next year. So we are definitely looking forward to that. As far as training, we'll try to train a few times at Breese Stevens. We're in different parks in the city of Madison, depending on what's available, and sometimes we train at U-Bay Fields as well.
Excellent. And we've only got about 40 seconds or so left, but I want to talk a little bit about game days and for people who are interested in coming to a Madison 56ers game, what that's like.
Right, so we try to keep it as much focused on soccer as possible. So even at halftime, we play soccer. We partner with different youth clubs from the Madison area, and we have like short 10-15 minute games. This year, even our supporters, Cap City supporters, will take the field for the first game to kind of show us how it's done for 15 minutes. And we are pretty family-oriented. Anyone under 14 gets in for free. Otherwise, tickets are $8. There is food, there is beer through Great Dane Brewery during the games. And yeah, pretty much it's all about try to keep it as much as possible just soccer related.
Absolutely. Well, Christian Bray, manager for the Madison 56ers, thanks so much for sharing that with us. We'll check in with you as the season progresses. Now, when we return, we're talking about a sport with growing popularity. 2 Madison area rugby teams are with us after the break. Welcome back to the Sports News. We are looking into a sport with growing popularity in the state. We're talking rugby. Head coach Rich Bergman joins us from the Oregon Stoughton Rugby Club, and Bruce Hill is here with the Youth Sports Director for Madison United Rugby. That's a mouthful, turns out. How are you guys all doing today?
Good, thank you.
So glad to see you all, and teammates behind you as well. So we've got a lot to cover, so we're kind of going to get down to it, but we're going to start with Madison United Rugby. So why don't you give us just a little bit of background on this team?
Sure. Madison United Rugby is a 501c3 nonprofit that was incorporated in 2008. We're comprised of all the rugby clubs in the Madison area and operate the Wisconsin Rugby Club Sports Complex out in Cottage Grove as well. Those clubs are, we have 3 senior division clubs, meaning adult, 2 collegiate teams, UW men and women, and 4 high school clubs, one of which is very well represented here today. I just want to quickly add, got to get this in, that the Wisconsin Women's Rugby Football Club is the reigning National 2 Division national champion, and the Wisconsin Rugby Club men's side, I think last won the national championship in 2013. I think that's the right year.
Well, incredible. Thanks for sharing that. And let's talk a little bit about the Youth Flag Rugby program. Now, you actually ran this program for 6 years. Are you going to be doing that again this coming summer?
Well, we're going to do it, but in a much bigger way. We've learned some lessons over the past 6 years, and this summer we're excited that we're going to be partnering with a total of 8 different recreation departments in the Madison-Dane County area. The 6 that are scrolling by on the ticker will be part of our 6-week summer program. Oregon and Monona are going to join us with a pilot program after school during the spring at an elementary school in each community.
That's incredible. That's great. So you're expecting a lot more kids this year. And talk to us a little bit about the coaching staff, what that's going to look like with such an influx.
Well, Madison United and the clubs of it are strongly committed to supporting expanded opportunities for youth rugby in the Madison area. So our coaches come from the playing ranks of all those clubs I mentioned. We had just one high school coach last year, but we're going to expand that quite a bit this summer, and we'll get some referees out of that group as well. I'd just add that all of our site coordinators will be USA Rugby certified as coaches, and we do standard background checks, and then they all get some local coaching and training from yours truly.
All right, great group of coaches. Well, let's talk a little bit about, for folks out there who are maybe interested, like I said earlier, this is obviously a growing sport. Who are you targeting in terms of group? So what's kind of the best age group in your opinion?
Well, what we've done so far, we'd like kids to be, for the summer program, entering 3rd grade is a good starting point for us, and we have them up through those entering 9th grade, at which time they can graduate to high school play, at least the boys so far. I can't think of anybody who rugby doesn't have a spot for. It's a high activity level sport with skills that transfer to other sports, and one of the things Madison United, we think of, a lot of other people have said it as well, but sport is a metaphor for life. So we think we can, with young kids through our adults, we learn life lessons, and sports helps us do that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Let's turn our attention a little bit to the Oregon Stoughton Rugby Club and these great folks we have sitting behind you. Rich, to start, why don't you walk us through sort of the levels of rugby in Wisconsin and how that relates to your team?
Sure. As Bruce mentioned, we have our flag rugby. In middle school, we're starting our tackle sevens, our contact sport, and that leads right into the high school teams. Madison United Rugby, right now we have 4 high school level teams. After that, you can go to collegiate. Every college in Wisconsin has a collegiate team, and from there you have club play, both men's and women's. So you can play rugby from 5th grade on up all the way until you're like Bruce and I, into our 50s and done playing.
That's great to know, though. It's a sport that you can continue throughout life, and I think that's important when youth are choosing sports to get involved in. And talk to us a little bit about the club leagues and club sports throughout the Madison area. How many are there?
There's quite a few of them, actually. Madison is holding the Minotaurs play. We have a men's D2 and also a D3, and we have our women's teams as well as our 2 collegiate teams, both men's and women's at the university.
And I want to talk a little bit about the high school state championships. And talk to us, what is the All Wisconsin Rugby Fest? What is
Sure.
that?
So we have our high school state boys championship. It's this year, it's June 4th in Cottage Grove. Simultaneous with that going on, all the other clubs that have played throughout the course of the season, we put into an All Wisconsin Rugby Fest. So they're playing for their pools and their bracketing in conjunction with the state tournament itself. It's at Cottage Grove, and it's a big weekend of just a lot of rugby.
And real quick before we go, let's talk a little bit about what is projected for the Wisconsin Rugby Club Sports Complex in Cottage Grove, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. So it's growing. There's a lot of input for the state of Wisconsin, not only to put the museum there for rugby nationally, but also start building our clubhouse, locker rooms, and so forth to really grow that complex.
Yeah, what a great growing sport for folks to get involved in, and youth in particular. Thanks so much for sharing that with us today. We're going to be right back with more sports news after this, so stick around. Welcome back to the sports news. As we say goodbye, I'd like to thank the many guests for your sports news reports, and a very special thank you to the Red Zone Sports Bar in downtown Madison for supporting local athletics. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. Thanks for all of our sports news guests for joining us. I'm Jessa Jeremiah. Please join us next time.